It was one of those days that started like any other, but ended in a way none of us could have imagined. Marcus, a man I've known for years, was at the center of it all. He's the kind of person who radiates kindness, always helping out at the community center, coaching kids, basketball on weekends, and never hesitating to lend a hand to anyone in need. But on that day, none of that mattered. All anyone saw was the color of his skin. It was around 4 p.m. when Marcus left work. He just finished his shift at the auto repair shop, his hands still smudged with grease, his tired smile barely visible under the brim of his cap. He was walking home like he did every day, when a police car pulled up beside him. Two officers stepped out, their expressions hard and unreadable. Marcus stopped, confused, but polite, as he always was. "Can I help you, officers?" He asked, his voice steady but cautious. They didn't answer right away. Instead, they circled him like predators, sizing up their prey. One of them barked, "Put your hands where we can see them." Marcus complied immediately, his hands raised in the air, his face a mix of fear and confusion. "What's this about?" he asked again, his voice trembling. "Now, you fit the description of a suspect we're looking for?" One officer said, his tone cold and detached. Marcus's eyes widened. "What suspect? I didn't do anything. I was at work all day. You can call my boss." "Please, there's been a mistake," but they didn't listen. They didn't care. They slapped handcuffs on his wrists, shoved him into the back of their car, and drove off. Just like that, Marcus was gone. When I heard what happened, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Marcus, a suspect. It didn't make any sense. I called his family, his boss. Anyone who could help his boss. Confirmed Marcus had been at work all day. There was no way he could have been involved in whatever crime they were accusing him of. But the officers didn't bother to check. They saw a black man walking down the street, and that was enough for them. The next few days were a nightmare. Marcus was held in a cell, treated like a criminal, while we scrambled to get him a lawyer. When I finally got to talk to him on the phone, his voice was hollow, like all the life had been drained out of him. "I just want to go home," he said, and I could hear the tears he was holding back. It broke my heart. The day of the court hearing was one of the most tense days of my life. The courtroom was packed. Mark, his family, friends, neighbors, even strangers who'd heard about his case and wanted to show support. Marcus sat at the defendant's table, his shoulders slumped, his eyes downcast. He looked so small, so defeated. It was a stark contrast to the vibrant, confident man. I knew the officers took the stand first. Their voices steady and rehearsed. They described Marcus as uncooperative and suspicious, painting him as someone who'd been looking for trouble. But those of us who knew Marcus knew better. He wasn't uncooperative. He was terrified, and who wouldn't be, when you're being treated like a criminal for no reason. Then came the moment that changed everything. Marcus's lawyer, a sharp and determined woman named Sarah, stood up and began her cross-examination. She asked the officers to describe the suspect they were looking for. One of them hesitated, then said he was a black male around 6 feet tall, wearing a red hoodie and jeans. Sarah nodded and pulled up a photo from the security footage of the robbery. She projected it onto a screen for everyone to see. The man in the photo was indeed wearing a red hoodie and jeans. But that's where the similarities ended. He was at least 50 pounds heavier than Marcus, with a rounder face and a completely different build. It was obvious to anyone with eyes that this wasn't Marcus. The room erupted in murmurs. Sarah turned to the judge and said, "Your Honor, this is a clear case of mistaken identity. My client is innocent, and these officers failed to do their due diligence before arresting him." The judge, a stern but fair woman, leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as she studied the photo. Then she turned to the officers. "Is this the man you arrested?" she asked, her voice sharp. The officers shifted uncomfortably. One of them started to speak, but the judge cut him off. "This is unacceptable," she said, her tone icy. "An innocent man was arrested based on a description that doesn't even match him. This is a failure of protocol, and it cannot be ignored." The room fell silent. Marcus's family held their breath, waiting for the judge's next words. "Case dismissed." She said finally, slamming her gavel down, "Mr. Johnson, you are free to go." The relief in the room was palpable. Marcus's mother burst into tears, clutching her son as he stood up, his legs shaky from the weight of everything he'd been through. But as we left the courthouse, the victory felt bittersweet. Yes, Marcus was free, but at what cost? He'd spent days in a cell treated like a criminal. His dignity stripped away, and for what a lazy, biased assumption. As we walked to the car, Marcus turned to me and said, "I just want to go home." His voice was quiet, but the pain in his words was deafening. I knotted my throat too tight to speak. We drove in silence, the weight of the day pressing down on us that night as I lay in bed. I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Marcus was safe now, but how many others weren't? How many innocent people were sitting in cells because someone decided they fit the description? It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. Marcus's story isn't just his. It's a story about a broken system, about prejudice and injustice, and the toll it takes on real people. It's a story that needs to be told over and over again until something changes, because no one should have to go through what Marcus did. Noah, hey everyone, if this story moved you, if it made you think, or if it reminded you why we need to keep having these conversations, please take a moment to like this video. It really helps spread awareness. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. Have you ever witnessed or experienced something like this? Let's talk about it. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, make sure to subscribe to the Story Hub. We're here to share real, powerful stories that need to be heard. Lastly, share this with your friends and family. The more people who see this, the more we can bring awareness and change. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Let's keep pushing forward together.